You guys, I am so excited that Home Goods is my sponsor because Home Goods is amazing. I don't know if you've ever been in the store, but every time you go, there is new amazing things. And I find myself unable to stop from buying things like throws or decorative pillows. I just love it. And it's like this great sense of discovery, and you get such awesome finds at great prices that I just continually load up. So I was thrilled to hear that Home Goods wanted to sponsor my show because I'm thrilled to bring their brand to you. If you don't already know them, you should definitely go and see what you can find to make your home better. I know that moms don't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff, but making a nice home is something that is super important and just bring a smile to all our faces. So check out Home Goods for big ticket items or just seasonal decor. They have creative, innovative, awesome finds that's always changing, so you'll never get bored with their selection, which is fantastic. So go finding at Home Goods today. Hi, this is Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. I'm also the host of Moms Don't Have Time to Lose Weight, and I'm the editor of the anthology, which you should run out and buy, called Moms Don't Have Time to, a Quarantine Anthology. All proceeds of that book go to COVID-19 vaccine research. And I'm the editor-in-chief of Moms Don't Have Time to Write, a new publication on Medium, and we're accepting submissions, so please send your personal essays there. And if all that isn't enough, you can follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens, and my website is zibbyowens.com. Okay, now back to this amazing podcast. Renee Rosen is the author of The Social Graces. She's the best-selling author of Park Avenue Summer, Windy City Blues, White Collar Girl, What the Lady Wants, and Dollface. She's also the author of Every Crooked Pot, a YA novel published in 2007. Renee lives in Chicago. Welcome, Renee. Thanks so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss The Social Graces.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So will you tell listeners what your book is about? And then I want to hear what inspired you to write it.
Okay, sort of the elevator pitch. The Social Graces is based on the true story of two very powerful women, Alva Vanderbilt and Caroline Astor, who were vying for control of New York society during the Gilded Age. So on the one hand, you have Caroline Astor, who was the Mrs. Astor. She was the reigning queen of society and the gatekeeper. She determined who was in and who was left out in the cold. And they went so far as to actually draw up a list of the 400. And there were literally 400 names that they deemed were allowed into fashionable society. And ironically, Alva Vanderbilt was not on that list. So, why didn't Mrs. Astor want Alva Vanderbilt in society? And it was really because society was divided into two very distinctive camps. So on the one hand, you had the Knickerbockers, or the old money. And on the other side, you had the industrialists, or the nouveau riche, the new money. And Caroline Astor was a Knickerbocker. She did not like new money. She especially did not like railroad money. And she felt that one's wealth should be inherited, not earned, which I think is a great gig if you can get it. But, she thought the nouveau riche were really flashy and tacky, and they didn't have many manners. My God, they ate their peas with a fork rather than a fork and knife. And Alva, of course, was railroad money. She was new money, and she took great offense to the exclusion. And this set up this bitter rivalry between these two women. And it became a competition. Who could throw the most elaborate ball? Who had the more expensive clothes? Who had the bigger mansion? And a bookseller friend of mine said, "Oh my God, this is like the Real Housewives of New York City, but in Worth counts." And I thought that was kind of a good description. And really, it's about ladies behaving badly.
But as you point out in the book, Mrs. Astor's money from that also was nouveau at some point, right? Like that was also from an industrial fortune as well.
Yeah.
So
which she conveniently didn't
she
discuss,
does not like to admit that.
Yeah.
I didn't research. Was Emily really the daughter's name? And did any of that ever happen, or was that totally your imagination?
No. So I took some liberties because at the end of the day, I'm trying to tell a story. But
by that happened, I mean, there's a scene at the very beginning of the book where Emily, Caroline's daughter, slips and falls, and Alva is there to rescue her.
Okay, now that actually came about as of a research trip. I went to Newport, Rhode Island, which was the summer fun spot for the rich. And they had these cottages, these 50 and 75 room cottages. And they're all along the Atlantic. And there's this famous walkway called Cliff Walk. And John and I, wanted to walk. I wanted to see the back of the cottages and everything. And I'm so enamored of the homes. I'm not paying any attention to the signs like warning, pathway, about to end, advance at your own peril, 50-foot cliffs. And I'm not wearing sensible shoes, and we come to this impasse and it's literally just rugged rock and, very rugged terrain. And John practically carried me over that. And he said, I think we need to turn around and go back. And I said, oh no, I will never make it back over that. I will die. And so I thought that was the worst of it. That was a cakewalk compared to what lay ahead. And it was like 3 hours.
Oh no.
And I thought, if I survive this, I am using this. So that's actually where that scene came from.
Oh my gosh.
But in terms of the other daughters, Caroline had 4 daughters, and they each gave her a run for her money. So the various scandals of the daughters were definitely factually based.
The stagecoach driver, the whole thing.
Well, that part took a little. Yeah, you see, you're more. My head's already into the next book, so you're.
Oh, sorry.
More up to speed. No, I forgot about that. No, I did take a little bit of license with that, but in terms of Charlotte was definitely the rebel. And she did have a scandal that went viral, Gilded Age style, and Carrie, the youngest, did go on a hunger strike. And Emily did cause her father to enter a duel.
Oh my gosh.
Was posed with, being challenged to a duel. And, Helen was kind of the obedient daughter.
And I found it interesting how you handled, now I'm blanking on his name, Mrs. Astor's sort of right-hand man.
Oh, Ward McAllister.
Yeah. And how, he had married into wealth to sort of up his station in life, and how he was obviously gay, but nobody was talking about it then, right? And how the society was sort of handling that.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was Mrs. Astor's escort. So Mrs. Astor's husband was either on his yacht, drunk, or canoodling with harlots, or all of the above. And so she was always on her own. And, Ward's wife was also very sickly and couldn't go. So Ward was sort of her escort, but nobody ever suspected that there was anything, going on between the two of them. So,
and also the suitor who comes back from England and wears a monocle and pretends he has a British accent.
Yeah.
And, it's like a total poser and
Van Allen. But, of course, they all spoke with that mid-Atlantic accent that, is not English and it's not American, its own, and yet they criticized him for talking with a fake British accent. So,
well, I just sort of love this theme of not belonging, right? Alva, you talk a lot about how she just is trying to fit in, trying to find her place, find her people, feel accepted. And because of her background and her, how she had grown up and always being excluded in school and now being excluded from society and, being disinvited to parties, and that feels like the end of the world, right? What does it mean to really be accepted? And where does society's power really come from? Can it rest with one person? I mean, I know it did, in this fictitious based on reality world, but who is the arbiter of society now? What is it? Us Weekly? Who does that now?
Yeah, I the Kardashians, I don't know, but it's, the thing that I found so fascinating was that Ward McAllister and Caroline Astor really engineered this thing called society. And they did that because, you're talking in the 1870s, women had very few rights. They didn't work outside the home. They couldn't own property. They didn't even have their own money. The one thing that they had was social currency. So they created this world with its own hierarchy. And that was the only arena where a woman could exercise any sort of influence. She got to plan the menu, the guest list, it was the reason they got up in the morning. Somebody had to plan those 9-course dinner parties, It gave them purpose.
I wouldn't have thought that she was so involved as, I know here she's add these courses and do this and do that. And, I don't know. I just would have thought somebody was planning it for her as opposed to Mrs. Astor being in the weeds,
Yeah. Well, she ran society like a CEO of a big major corporation. Even if the balls that went on until 4 a.m, she was at her desk at 8:30 a.m, handling her correspondence, and, she did have an assistant. She had a social secretary. Yeah. But that was just somebody to deal with like the florists and, but yeah, they took it really seriously. And it's so easy to discount it as being so superficial and so frivolous. But when you look at the fact that they had no other outlet, it sort of makes like they were kind of, it's kind of a brilliant move.
I mean, to be honest, if you reframed it, it's really like self-government, right? That's sort of what they're doing.
Yeah, that's very true. I didn't think about it like that, but yeah.
And if men were, if it had been in the male society, that's what they were kind of doing as well, right? They had to the Declaration of Independence and who are all the states. These are like another kind of citizens, if you will, of a state that she's creating.
And, they modeled it after Europe, because, and being a Knickerbocker meant that was the closest thing we had to American royalty. So, it was really, it was just such a fascinating time to, I was just amazed by these people, and I could not have dreamed up these characters. Fact is definitely stranger than fiction.
We interrupt this podcast for a special announcement. Today's sponsor is Peloton. I am thrilled to be talking about Peloton because I have a Peloton bike, which I got as a gift right after I had my fourth child from a loving family member. And I have found it to be a total lifesaver in terms of wanting to feel better in my body and maintain some level of fitness and health in the midst of my crazy busy life. And I love the classes. My favorite teacher happens to be Allie Love, and she is super inspiring and motivational. And I just look forward to spending time watching her lead the classes. It's like just amazing. And I always leave sweating and feeling better than I did. And anytime I make time for it, I am super grateful. You should definitely check out the bikes and everything they have to offer on onepeloton.com. With the Peloton bike, there's nothing like working out from home. Learn more at onepeloton.com. That's onepeloton.com. New members can try Peloton classes free for 30 days at onepeloton.com/app, which is super cool. The classes are amazing, and they also have other things aside from just things you can do on the bike. So you should definitely check it out. Thank you, Peloton, for the sponsorship, and I hope you will just go check out the website. You don't have to get on a bike right now. Just first go to the website. That'll be your first step today. onepeloton.com. And now back to our show. We interrupt this podcast for a special announcement from Noom. If you aren't familiar with Noom, which I have been raving about for a long time, which is Noom, Noom.com. And actually, if you go to noom.com/time to read, you can sign up for your trial and get psychology-based support and motivation to reach your goals. So Noom is amazing because it's an app, first of all, that ranks foods green, red, yellow. So you know how much you're supposed to eat of each food. And it takes the emotion right out of it, which I love. So whether you're upset about something or not, it's not a should or should not eat type of food. It just is what it is. And you get different categories and basically a target amount of calories you're supposed to eat in a day. You track it on the app, but the app has a whole course that you get to follow along with in very tiny increments. So it's like 1 minute, 2 minutes. And you learn all of these cognitive behavioral techniques that as a psychology major, I learned way back when, and which honestly I employ with my kids all the time. So Noom gives you a whole course. Nothing is off limits with Noom. More than 80% of users complete the program. More than 60% of users lose 5 or more % of their body weight, and 60% keep it off for a year or more, which is amazing. And you can go to noom.com/time to read. That's noom.com/time to read for a 2-week trial. It's really fantastic. You should definitely check it out. So start building better habits for healthier long-term results and sign up for your trial at noom.com/time to read. One more time, noom.com/time to read. Give it a try. You'll feel better. It's like, it reminds me of Little Women, right? The 4 sisters and, just the antics and what happens and family and relationships and love interests and, I don't know. Yeah. So is this going to be a movie? It has to be a movie.
Oh God, from your mouth to yes. Hello. I would love that.
I mean, has there been a movie? I mean, you must have researched this on the way about these families in this time.
Not like Age of Innocence is, sort of loosely based on that. But what I'm really waiting for is the HBO series, The Gilded Age, by Julian Fellows, the same man who created Downton Abbey.
Yeah, right.
And I keep checking, like, when is it going to premiere? When is it going to premiere? Because while that is, I'm sure there will be cameos of the Astors and the Vanderbilts and all that, but it's really New York society. So right in the Gilded Age. So I'm very excited for that.
I wonder, you should talk. So Alison Pataki has a new book coming out about Marjorie Merriweather Post.
Yes.
Which I know is a different era, but also like a doyen sort of heiress of society. Might be interesting to have you guys talk about that, how it changes over time.
I found Merriweather Post was just one amazing woman. I mean, she took over her father's business, and she started Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure we won't even go there. But she's a fascinating character. I saw that because I was doing some preliminary research into her life. And then I saw that Allison was writing. I'm like, good, yay, well, because she'll do a fabulous job with that.
Put you guys in touch if you ever want to do anything together or whatever.
Yeah.
Wait, and you said it a little bit ago that you were so deep in your next book that you were forgetting some of the things in this book. So wait, tell me about the next book. This sounds very exciting already.
So the next book I am super excited about. I don't have a title for it yet, but it's about Estee Lauder.
Oh.
And she was really a very interesting woman. And she started making these lotions, potions, and elixirs in her kitchen in her Upper West Side apartment. And then she would take them to the beauty parlors and start hawking her wares. And it really focuses on that time period up until she landed her first account at Saks Fifth Avenue, which you weren't in business at the time unless you were at Saks. And she was a real trailblazer. I don't want to give too much away for people that don't know her personal story, but there were a few things that didn't quite add up. And it's just a fun look at the cosmetic industry of the time. And, Elizabeth Arden and Helena Rubinstein and Charles Revson, who was the head of Revlon, Max Factor and all that. So I'm having so much fun with this book.
Amazing. Have you read Rouge by Richard Kirschenbaum?
No, but I'm trying not to read other fiction.
I'll stop bringing in other books.
only because I have made that mistake of reading fiction that's based, and then I'm so paranoid the rest of the time that that I'm being influenced. So,
and when you're writing about Estee Lauder, like, do you try to get her life rights, or do you talk to the family about anything, or do you just get to use your imagination and run with it?
So I don't know did you ever see the movie, Will You Ever Forgive Me? Can You Ever Forgive Me? With Melissa McCarthy? It was based on Lee Israel, who was this New York Times bestselling biographer. And she was forging all these letters later by Dorothy Parker and all these other luminaries and all that, and got busted. But before she did that, she did an unauthorized biography on Estee Lauder. And, she revealed a lot of stuff that they didn't necessarily want out there. And when Estee found out about it, she raced to write her own book. So it was really a rush to publication. And both books are really not if they'd had more time, they would have been good books, but you could tell that they were both rushed. But so that gave me a lot of insight because the Lauder family is so involved in protecting Estee's legacy. I decided to not talk to them just yet.
Okay.
And I also, like I did in Park Avenue Summer, I've introduced a fictional character who is an assistant buyer at Saks Fifth Avenue, cosmetic buyer. So it's sort of, because I don't want to tell someone's story. When you do biographical historical fiction, I don't want to just tell a story that's already out there in nonfiction form and fictionalize it. I want to bring something new to it. And interweaving a fictional character allows me to do that.
How did you get started as a writer? Like, give me the quick version story of your life to make you into a writer.
I've known since I was a little girl that I wanted to be a writer. In fact, none of my friends would play Barbies with me because all they wanted to do was put on the clothes. And I was very concerned with the storyline. And Barbie and Ken cannot go to Paris because, first of all, they're having financial problems. And second of all, they have a fight. They're in the middle of a fight and they need to resolve that. And they're like, just put the clothes on. And I was always telling stories. And, like my first book took me 17 years to write. My second book took me 10 years to write. My mother said, if you want to make a living at this, let's pick up the pace. So it took me a long time. I got like 300 rejections before I found an agent. And then I got a book published. And then there was like another 7-year dry spell before I got another agent, another book deal. So, very up, down, up, down.
So, I mean, it's just amazing how often I hear that. Like, it's just so hard to believe. And then as soon as you somehow like break in and there are all these books, right? Now you're just cranking them out, right?
Well, once I found a home and I feel so fortunate that I've got a great team and I've found a home that I get to do this, and I have friends who are either querying for agents or trying to get their first books out there. And it's like, it just takes one. You just gotta have that bounce back, and rejection, 5 more queries go out, and just keep at it.
I wonder if there needs to be this like almost like a clearinghouse, right? Because a lot of really good stuff gets rejected, but then a lot of stuff should be rejected, right? Some of it's not quite ready. Yeah. But as an author, you don't know where you fall on that spectrum.
Yeah. And timing accounts for so much of this. A book that wasn't right 5 years ago could be perfect for right now.
Yes.
And people who want to follow a trend because they don't understand how long the cycle, the publishing cycle is. So, if domestic suspense is very hot at a certain time period, everybody wants to do that. And then by the time their book comes out, it's not, or is ready to go to market, it's not fresh anymore. So it's a tough business, but it's a wonderful business.
Yes. Yes. What do you like to read, by the way?
Oh, gosh, I read a lot of historical fiction. And I'm not sure what draws the line between literary and non-literary, but I do love beautifully crafted sentences. And, I will just savor that. And and I discovered audiobooks during the pandemic. I couldn't read in the beginning. Like many people, there was, few distractions going on. And so I started listening to audiobooks and working jigsaw puzzles. And that got me through the pandemic. And now I'm sort of hooked on audiobooks, which is great because I'm able to get more reading in. I don't know if that counts as reading.
It counts. It counts.
Really, it counts. Okay.
I did a Facebook Live recently with the founder of Audiophile magazine. So I had this whole talk with her, Robin, about the audio and how it's changing over time and like where it's going. And it's like, there's such a boom, right? People love to listen and they didn't even know it, right? With podcasts and audio. I mean, here we are talking, people are listening. So
yeah. And it's great. You go and work out and get lost in a book and you're not thinking about, oh my God, 3 more minutes of this, of this grueling workout, And so I don't know. It's kind of, I've always got my pods in and I've always got a book queued up. So
what's today? Just out of curiosity.
Today, what am I reading? I just started the new Sally Rooney book.
Oh, okay. Did it come out today? I think it must have just come out.
Yeah. And so that's just a treat,
awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. Amazing. So what advice would you have for aspiring authors?
You got the usual, you got to read and write and read and write and read and write. But I think the secret sauce really is you have to believe it's going to happen for you. I think when you absolutely commit to it and believe it's going to happen, I just think doors start to open. You'll start to meet people. Like I didn't know another writer when, I decided I was going to write books. I hadn't met anybody else that was doing this. I don't even know where it came from that I was going to do this. But at some point, you just have to believe. If it happened for one other person, why can't it happen for you? And the power of belief is just really, it's a real thing. And it keeps you going when the disappointments come and you brush yourself off. And as long as you just make that commitment to yourself and know in your heart of hearts that it is going to happen. And you just keep going.
I love that. I did this weight loss program on Noom, and they have all these positive psychology and behavior modification techniques. But one of the things they say right in the beginning is the biggest determinant of whether or not you will lose weight on this app is if you believe you will. That is 85% of the success comes from the belief. I believed it and then it didn't work. But anyway, it's not, I did lose some weight, but then I gained it all right back. So I don't know. They didn't talk about that. I did believe, and while I was believing, it worked. So I think it applies to most things in life, and that conviction. Absolutely. Amazing. Well, Renee, thank you so much. Thanks for talking about the social graces. I really want to see this as a movie or a limited or something, because I'm so fascinated and I really wanted to hear more about all of the characters and, tracking Caroline and Emily and all of them. I mean, I don't know. I left wanting more. So I'll just say that.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. And thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, I hope to see you in person sometime.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music. You guys, I am so excited that Home Goods is my sponsor because Home Goods is amazing. I don't know if you've ever been in the store, but every time you go, there is new amazing things. And I find myself unable to stop from buying things like throws or decorative pillows. I just love it. And it's this great sense of discovery. And you get such awesome finds at great prices that I just continually load up. So I was thrilled to hear that Home Goods wanted to sponsor my show because I'm thrilled to bring their brand to you. If you don't already know them, you should definitely go and see what you can find to make your home better. I know that moms don't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff, but making a nice home is something that is super important and just bring a smile to all our faces. So check out Home Goods for big ticket items or just seasonal decor. They have creative, innovative, awesome finds that's always changing, so you'll never get bored with their selection, which is fantastic. So go finding at Home Goods today.